everybody knows everybody. We're old pals at this point, so. Is there any public comment? I don't see anybody online. You haven't seen anybody, Lydia. Okay, well then we'll dive right ahead. I hope you all received the meeting minutes from the November 21st trustee meeting. Are there any comments or corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from 11/21.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 11/21.
Is there a second?
I'll second them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Susan, we're on up to you.
No,
Oh, did I miss something?
Donations.
Oh, except donations. I'm sorry, I skipped right over that. Donations in November were 122.15, and I think Liz detailed the sources of those in her report. Any questions for Liz about the donations? Not, we could have a motion to accept the donations for November of $122.15.
I'll make a motion to accept the donations of $122.15.
I'll second.
You're also the PayPal donation. Is that a person's name or program or what?
That's a person's name.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now Susan.
Okay. Looking at the director's accounts, the visa expense was slightly over $1,000 off the town budget. We just approved the donations. It's using visa miscellaneous. Ended up with $1,400. That accounts for the big big fee.
Yeah.
Remember?
It's a long overdue book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, we had 2 reimbursements from the town for some programs, I believe.
Okay. I was just
Yeah, I had,
curious.
yeah, we did some reimbursements for things that I had done to
Okay.
move things
Okay.
around.
And the donation account is looking good.
Yes.
Any questions with the director's reports? The trustee accounts, $2.75 interest on the two interest-bearing accounts. $195.97 for the CD interest. The big movement in November was, if you look under the First East Coast Bank General Savings, that's where we went to $10,000 and opened a 9-month CD at the rate of 5.3 interest. In contrast to the TD rate, the interest on First East Coast Bank will be quarterly, so there won't be as many updates. But it's okay, we can handle it. So that's the update. Any questions on? So right now we're sitting on 3 CDs. Yeah, and all, I think one will be due in January, which we'll have to talk about at the next meeting. Another one in June, and then.
And I'm sure you've all seen on the news that is the Fed saying that they expect to begin to start reducing interest fees.
Right.
So I'm gonna get to January, then I'll look seriously at a little bit longer time.
That's it.
Okay. Anything, any other questions or for the treasurer? Okay. Is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And by the way, we should just comment that that Melanie is now an official full-time trustee.
Yay.
Got sworn in yesterday.
Yay. Wonderful.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our commiserate.
Yeah.
Let's see. Select board
I think I'm
liaison, that looks like Dana.
I'm on.
You're up.
Not much, we authorized a new member, appointed a new member to the, as a full member. But we're really just kind of waiting on the new warrant number here, which I think we should come up today, hopefully.
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you speak up? Because I'm taking notes.
Oh, sorry, just, we're waiting for the number on
From the library.
bond with the library. And we did, I think we're going to forward the capital reserve, to the library. There was many discussion of that. To the technology.
Oh, the
Library.
technology one,
Library
yes, yes.
technology. There was no
So
comment on that.
the ABC and the select board had a joint meeting
Right.
last week,
Yes.
which I attended part of. And I thought, and I'm going to ask you if you would comment on the goal of that meeting and the outcomes and,
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, we had that meeting. The meeting was twofold. One was to kind of focus on the warrant articles and to prioritize the warrant articles. Because there are going to be quite a few when we add in the zoning ordinance. There's going to be some 40 warrant articles.
40?
Something like that. And, all the stuff from the planning board. So that's one word. I'm not sure. It's going to be a bunch, though. So we discussed, a lot of the reason we had this meeting was because there are a lot of people who look at what the select board and the ABC comment, just the number comment we had.
recommend or not
Right,
recommend.
recommend or not recommend. And so we wanted to look at that, and then we wanted to look at how we were going to promote some of these things, because I think a lot of the warrant articles that we had last year that didn't pass, largely because people didn't quite understand them. So we're going to have a voter's guide. We're going to try to approach social media, that sort of thing. And that was the main idea of meeting with the ABC. And I think we came up with strategies on how we're going to do that. There'll be a voter's guide, which will indicate pluses and minuses, fors and against, if there are against, trying to describe the warrant article. That was the basic thing. We didn't get to discussing much about the library, frankly, other than we're waiting for the number.
Right.
And we will see.
Well, the other thing was that the focus was on, I thought, the articles on which there is unanimous support, all of the select board, all of the ABC supporting them, which was a lot of the capital reserve, most of the capital reserve accounts.
Yeah, the actual function of that, because we kind of knew that in advance, was how do we prioritize these?
Mm.
I think if you remember last year, we kind of listed the warrant articles, the financial warrant articles, by what we consider to be the priority.
Mhm.
Hopefully, maybe pass all, but if you didn't, these are the lower priority. I think library probably will be.
Our technology
Second or-
one may be the last, but that's okay.
Yeah,
It's
it'll
got
be the second or third. I think this bond,
The bond article
It's gonna be
is
the first or
required to
second.
be,
one of the first.
any bond articles, anything, I think requiring 60% or any bond,
Right.
has to be, what, immediately following the operating budget?
Yeah,
Something like that,
Before the operating, but.
before the operating,
Yeah,
obviously, early on.
I think there's the town offices.
Yeah.
And then, for this early on.
I remember
Yeah,
last
bonding.
time it was number 3,
Right.
because we had all those signs, yes on 3.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of no on 3 signs around town as well.
Well, stand by for those, but my guess is it will be 3.
Mhm.
So, that,
Well, I thought it was very useful, and we'll talk more about the communication and, public information aspect of the building. The other thing that the group discussed before I left was the proposal for the TIP district, and which is quite a new and different than last year's.
and that may be the first one.
And there's been a debate on whether the ABC will weigh in on that. The select board did not feel that that was necessary, but the ABC seemed to feel pretty strongly, for the most part, that they wanted to record a recommendation or a comment on it. So we'll see.
SB2, people like that because they get more people voting in the old town meeting.
That's correct.
However, you have a lot more uninformed people voting. I've been to deliberative session before going there on one side of the article, and I wanted to vote for or against, and then after listening to both sides, I changed my point of view. If I hadn't gone, I would have voted the other way. And yes, more people vote, but it's important to get information out there because a lot of people don't bother to go to the deliberative session and understand things, they just go and vote.
Well, 100, 150 show up at deliberative, but a couple
Yeah,
thousand will
yeah.
vote.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is yes. And so, again, a large part of the discussion, even after you left, was how do we do this? How do we promote or let people, inform people? We can't advocate, town cannot advocate for one, but we can certainly explain what these are and give.
Yeah. And the same is true for trustees. We can inform. It's not that we can't say anything to people, but we can give people information. Clearly, we wouldn't be putting forth an article if we didn't recommend it and be informative about that.
So we can't encourage them to vote for the library, we can only encourage them to be informed and vote. Is that what you're saying?
To inform them about the content of the article.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a fine line because, as I say, if we didn't think it was a good idea and we didn't think people should vote for it, we wouldn't put it forward. So that's,
There are no restrictions on the foundation or the Friends,
yeah, there were no restrictions on the foundation and the Friends. They're independent.
or for that matter, each of you individually.
As a voting citizen.
I mean, you can.
We can hold signs out in front of the,
Right,
We just can't say, as a library trustee,
Right.
I want you to vote for.
right.
and from stories I've heard about other libraries around the state, when they have a building, they probably cross the line. I don't know, and not just libraries, but others as well. But anyway, thank you, Dana. Director's report, Liz, and we've all gotten Liz's written report. So I put down, tell us how end of year expenditures are looking.
I think they're looking fairly good. We are over in book maintenance. We are over in building maintenance. That's just because we had to purchase a piece of equipment that we didn't anticipate on purchasing because it got broken. We're also over on postage. No surprise, there were 2 postal rate increases this year, and the post office tells me there's another one pending in January.
So buy your forever stamps now.
Buy your stamps now. I've been going in there whenever I'm in on personal business or business and just buying more on my own card because they last forever. So we're doing pretty well. I thought, looking at Amy's numbers here, Amy Doherty's number, this was run on December 10th on the back of the sheet, the appropriation page. As of December 10th, we'd used about 80% of our budget. We're going to be probably at least 90% of our operating budget used by the end of the year because we still had, as this had been run, we had not paid off Hoopla, we've not paid off, we had not paid off the copier. So we've got some fairly large bills in the pipeline, and we are now actually paying off the 2024 stuff like New Hampshire. We're not paying them this year, but we're paying some I had to be paid for next year. I went into Hoopla today to look at the numbers, and we were set for $700 a month.
We were set for 700.
That's what it was set at. I set it starting January for $450 a month.
Well, have we been spending $700 a month?
We've been spending $700 a month for the latter half of the year since about maybe July. It's been going up. We roll over our numbers from this year into January. So we will have rollover we haven't spent it every month, but
Right.
it's been going up every month. So I think I'm going to let the staff know that we are probably going to have a shock factor.
People get cut off.
When all of a sudden, I mean, we aren't making our daily total by any sense, but there are a certain number of people who get all that.
Do you, you were telling me about this with some other libraries who are discontinuing Hoopla because of the cost. Are you yet able to analyze how many people are using Hoopla?
I haven't looked to see how many unique
Users,
users we have. That's what caused Nashua canceled theirs. Because they only had, I think, 39 unique people using lots of stuff. And Manchester canceled theirs for the same reason. And it's been a debate back and forth on the listserv because some people want to jump into it now, but a lot of others are stepping back because
It's hard to control the cost.
it's unsustainable. They do charge, up to $8.99 for certain things. You just don't know it. It's not like NHDB. So yeah, I have to look and see how many unique users we are.
So is it charged by, it's not charged by patrons in the library, like Manchester's a lot more than we do. So they, it's the same rate. Basically just whatever the book is that.
Yes.
checks it out.
It's per circulation, but each of the items may be a different price. A new movie might be $8.99, while an audiobook might be $4.99 for a checkout. You can, I was in there today looking at it, you can set it so that they can't check out things that
They
are
can't
over a
even
certain
see the
amount.
things that are-
Yeah, there's all sorts of things you can do, but I haven't really done a deep dive into it because I didn't really want to go there yet.
Is there a program where they can check to see if we have the movie here before they check it out in Hoopla?
They can see that in the catalog. If they look for it in the catalog, they can look in Hoopla, they can look.
But do
But
they just automatically go to
When
Hoopla?
I go to
they don't.
Hoopla, I just
No.
look at what's in Hoopla.
No.
That's what I'm thinking. That somehow they gotta.
And because Hoopla is immediately available,
Yes.
there's
Instant
no waiting
gratification.
for it, so. If they have a newer book and there's a long waiting list on Overdrive, it's
Liz, could you explain unique user, what that means?
Unique users, the number of actual library patrons that are using it. Like each of you would be a unique user, but if there's only 39 unique users in Nashville, meaning 39 out of how many thousands using all their money, that's a very expensive service that's not
One unique
serving.
user could check out one and another unique user could check out 100 in here.
So it depends on how they control it too.
Lucy Kirby has resigned her position. Her last day she said her last day would be December 30th, but we were thinking we might close that day. It's a Saturday.
Yeah, that's the next thing I put under your.
We are, and I'm gonna have a lot of, she has a 25-hour a week position. She did not want the extra 2 hours, which is tagged onto the evening desk clerk's job. When I spoke with the evening desk clerk, he would prefer the 25-hour position. So I'm going to advertise the morning position as a 27-hour a week. Of course, I could make it fluid because I know over at the town hall, they did adjust the payroll system so that it calculates earn time based on the number of hours you worked, not the hours you're scheduled for anymore. That used to be a sticking point.
So, when we met last week, Liz, asked about whether we could consider closing on the Saturday before New Year's. Not a busy day,
Not busy.
it would make scheduling easier, than trying to schedule around that. Susan, do you remember? We thought it was a reasonable idea when we met. But I would want the trustees to make that decision.
Good day.
Yeah.
So let's have a motion to close the library or not have the library open on Saturday the 30th.
And the library closed December 30th.
Is there a second? And just so you know, that doesn't mean that we're giving people a paid holiday on the
No,
30th.
no.
It means that people will work their hours during the week. If they want to get paid for their, whatever, 25 hours, they have to work 25 hours in a week if they were normally going to be scheduled on that Saturday. So it's not an extra holiday, it's just a closing.
That's actually helpful because you won't be open on Saturday, but you're getting more out of your week.
Yes.
You get things done.
And it's a weekend. Some people are
You
taking
know.
some, I think you said Alex is taking some time off.
Yes, I've got some people taking, and I've got
So
some
we'll
people
make it
taking
easier to
Friday
schedule.
off, yeah.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Okay.
have one question
Yes.
about,
Oh, let's see. Go ahead,
another
Susan.
question about the Lucy's position or the 27-hour position. Are you going to keep it as a morning and evening? Because I know you were thinking about
I
others or for convenience.
there's
right now.
two schools of thought, yes. The person I have in the evenings now really likes evenings, and is not a morning person.
Oh, okay.
Lucy was not an evening person, was very much a morning person. I would hire it based on its being a morning position simply at this point, because I'm told that's the easier one to fill because it's like mother's hours. So,
Okay.
and if I have both of them, people potentially wanted days off, or like almost like a job sharing, you work 2.5 days, you work 2.5 days, we could do that.
Okay, after you're going to advertise it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were the candidates, I know Jeffrey won out,
Mhm.
but were the other candidates, could they possibly,
I would rather not.
okay, okay, just want to know.
So if there are no other questions for Liz, we'll move on to the library building project. I have sent you out a ton of stuff. And I have copies of some of the things that we need to refer to them. The building committee met on Friday. And we met from 5 to 7. Dan came. Pardon? And Rob Gibson, who's on the building committee, was there. Everybody was there except Eddie Geddes, who was out of town. And then we had Jason, the architect, and Jesse from the Bowen Corporation participated electronically. It was partly my thriftiness of saying, I don't want to see us get billed for travel. They can be just fine on the screen, and that really did work fine, I think, for us.
One from the car.
And one, oh yes, Jason was like, where's Jason? And then like, what? He was in his car. And I thought if he was sitting in his car for 2 hours, he must have either gotten cold.
He didn't turn it on at first.
Oh, dear. But we went through the various reports. And as I think if you were interested enough to look at the stuff, the report on the water, the commercial inspection, building inspection that was the town arranged. And I forgot the name of the company, it's probably on that paperwork. They did, I think, a very thorough report, and they had a separate septic inspection done by a septic person, I guess, and a water inspection. Water looks fine from what I could see, and the septic, like, this needs to be cleaned or that needs to be pumped out, but there was no sense that there was anything, any major repair that was needed, just routine maintenance. And I believe there was a reference in the building report that they didn't fully test the generator, but it has been regularly serviced, so that probably works.
I thought it was on, I thought they said it was on some of it.
It was an exercise mode.
Yeah, because any full building kind of
Right.
generator usually goes on once a week for 15
Right.
seconds or something. I don't have one, but
Yeah. It helps the battery
yeah.
recharge. Yeah.
It goes off every Monday at 4:00 in the morning, 20 minutes.
So
Yeah.
apparently that's the impression I had.
Yeah.
That
Yes,
it's,
it was on, but I think it was on when it was
Yeah.
doing its exercise.
we had a little debate about, is it propane generated, like a lot of home ones are, or is it diesel? And the conclusion was that it must be diesel fuel. Again, I don't really know anything about that, but we did not take a lot of time to worry about the generator.
And it's in the building?
No, it's a huge stack, big metal box,
Close to the roads.
Yeah.
It's a huge.
out by one.
HVAC system?
Heating, ventilation, air conditioning, those are the letters.
And
So-
it's heated by oil or?
Propane. Propane is what runs the
Yeah, okay.
inside heating systems. So, I just printed out, well, I didn't print out, I copied for you just the pages. The total report from the building inspector was 77 pages long, of which 75 pages were pictures. So, all the things you see here, let's say, it might say a drain or this or that, and then would be multiple pictures of that particular piece of equipment, or if they said there was some damage with the, a siding, some slight damage, then there'd be pictures of that. So I did not copy and fill your inbox with pictures, but if you would like to see that, Liz has it
Yes.
on her computer, and we'll be happy to make it available for you. They identified a number of things, and as you saw, they recommended that there could be more professional, like a concrete professional or something to further analyze the pavement area. And, again, some of the other areas similarly. The main area that I'd say we spent a great deal of time, we spent a lot of time talking about two things. One was the potential for solar panels and solar electricity, and the other was the HVAC system. I didn't send you, I can send this around. This, Jack Bingham from, I forgot already his company's names, Seacoast Energy Alternatives. He has looked at the building, he measured, he said where you could put panels. He said you'd get the most bang for your buck if you had ground mount. We were not inclined to do ground mount. One thing is that like the trees in the back would have to be removed, that are right at the back of the building, which would not be all that attractive. But we also want to have the possibility of outdoor space for programming, for children's play area and that sort of thing. And kind of didn't think that ground mount would be as conducive to that kind of use of the property. So we looked at roof mount, and what Jack came up with was a total cost of around $50,000 for the panels, installation, and everything. Apparently, there's a 30% federal rebate on installing solar, so that would bring it down to about $35,000. Jack has volunteered as a donation to the project to do the installation for no charge, so labor. Obviously, any materials would be purchased, and that's also a significant cost that's
If you'd
not
like to
reflected.
do solar on the roof, you need to look at a new roof.
Well, and we had a lengthy
Section 2.
discussion about that as well. So one of the things when we talked about solar, the building committee was unanimously in favor of it. And I think it was Dannon who raised the comment that not every resident in town is a fan of solar or believes it's worth doing, I guess. And would there be some, I guess, lack of political support would include it. But what we concluded was we want to be very transparent that we would like to have solar on the roof because it looks like it would be a very good payback, particularly if we were able to get a grant to cover the panels. It would be an immediate payback on electricity. And but so we basically did not put money in the budget specifically for solar. We originally had like 34,000 or 35,000 in there, and then we took that out, saying we think we can cover that with non-town monies. But as Robert said, if we were to put solar on, we wouldn't want to put it on a 22-year-old roof. So when you look at the budget, from SMP, which I have, what did I do with my budget? Well, yes. You'll see down there, we note, 83,720, what was originally, estimated as the cost to replace the entire roof. The roof is in not bad shape. You know, there are a few shingles that have come loose or whatever, and that can be repaired. So the roof could have, you know, anywhere from, I don't know, 5, 8, 10 years of life left. And so then we said, well, should we just price out the cost of replacing the 2 roofs that would be used for solar? But then you'd have the others, the rest of it that would need to be replaced, the setup. It felt, what Jesse and Jason were saying is it's more cost efficient to replace the whole thing. If you're going to replace a part of it, replace the whole amount and get, you know, whatever long life architect shingles and so we did include that in the budget.
How do they determine payback for solar? Because I'm sure it's much better in Phoenix than it is here.
Well, what Jack estimated was the solar, if we put up the solar panels on that he recommended, and well, if we got funding, if it was all funding, it would be an immediate payback. But if we had to have actually incur a cost of $34,000, $35,000, he estimated the payback would be in about between 6 and 7 years, somewhere in that, which is not bad.
I guess my question is payback based on an average for national, or is it based on?
He said based on the current average kilowatt rate per kilowatt hour of 15 cents per kilowatt hour.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
And they can calculate more or less what you will produce.
On the position of the sun and
We are unable to calculate what percentage of the expected electric bill would be covered by the solar generation. And the reason for that is we have not been able to yet get from HCA a bill for an average month when the building is occupied. They did tell us how much they spent on electricity over a couple of years, but the numbers made no sense. It was like 1,000 one year and 4,000 the next year. So clearly bills were not being paid in a regular way. And that doesn't really tell you much if you don't know what the rate per kilowatt hour is. It could have gone up tremendously because of, you know, an increase in the rate. So we need kilowatt hours. And I had asked Connor for that, and I'll remind him again.
Did I just read that Eversource and Unitel are reducing the rates?
Yes, this winter.
Something like 12 cents now. And I
Yes,
think
significantly.
8 cents. And
It's for
sometime next year.
so it's for February to July, and it's a proposed rate, it's not approved
No.
yet.
So that's, I mean, that makes the comparison to solar.
Well, you know, it's going to vary. It's not like that's going to be
Forever.
reduced rates for 20 years or 6 months. So, you know, we had a lot of interest in solar from a lot of residents who participated in our input sessions, but they do not represent 50% of the town. You know, we had 50 people show up. So there's a lot of interest in solar, but there's, I think, a lot of skepticism from some folks. So that's why we didn't actually build it into the budget, but said we would look for grant funding to make that happen. Carolina.
Yeah, and also the Barrington Energy Commission is working on getting community power into Barrington, which will help reduce the rates a lot too, so.
Well, I went to their public hearing on that, which was very interesting. And it was one of the questions, if we went with solar, we would be staying with Eversource because that's how you do the net metering.
Mhm.
And so you have to be with Eversource because they're the ones that are getting the credits and giving you back the credits.
What I've heard that community chosen is so that everybody's got to have a choice of going to them.
I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have choices
But I
under.
mean, you already have choices anyway, don't you? where you're.
Sure.
So
Yes.
what's the
Th-
difference?
This gives more choices.
The expectation is through community power, what they're able to do, they'll only offer it if they can offer rates lower than you can get through any of the other parties.
Plus they can buy the electricity throughout the
The
year,
problem
not
is-
just twice a year.
The problem is, you're not gonna get discount, volume discount until you get enough people.
Well,
Until
I
you
don't
get
want to go
that-
down the
Right.
path of talking about,
Yeah.
it's very good, interesting discussion. I did go to the public hearing, and if there are any more public hearings on that topic or information session, I would encourage you all to go, because it's very interesting, and I think very well done. I know you were there as well. So I just wanted you to know where we are with solar, and so the committee recommended this approach. And so that's the approach we're taking. As I mentioned, the big ticket item was the HVAC system. And you could see in the summary that I sent out to you on the evaluation of that, Fallon had a energy company, an HVAC company, actually go and assess the system. And the conclusion was that it has got 5, what do you call them? Units or 5,
5 units, I mean, or
5, like, I don't want to say zones, but there's,
there are
what is it
some
called?
there.
Well, 5 units, I'll call them, that run the whole building, that heat the whole entire building. And that may make sense because, it was built as a building with all these little rooms. We're making it an open plan building. So 2 of them need service and some minor repairs, and that would probably extend their life for, 5 to 8 years. 3 of the units, the main units for the center part of the building, are in terrible shape, essentially, very bad shape, and not worth repairing. We would just be in a constant repair mode. They're a normal life of a furnace, I guess, or this kind of system is 15 to 18 years. Those original ones, those main ones, are 22 years old. They are past the end of their cycle. And so we ended up talking about whether we should pull the whole system and replace it, whether we should, have a new company come in and basically say, if this were a blank slate, what would be appropriate for this use in this building? What Jesse and Jason had a conference call yesterday with the HVAC company that they use. And what they came up with was, as you see on this, replacing 3 of the HVAC units, those main ones that are really not working as needed. And they came up with a cost of $90,000, which is significantly less than what we had originally been expecting. We had, a couple $100,000 in there. The building construction line item contains the funds to do the servicing and the upgrading of the 2 systems that would remain. And I talked to Jason further about that today, and he said, this is what they would recommend as the most cost-effective budget item. If the bond passes and then you bring in, the several HVAC and you get bids and all that, it may be that for this money or less, we can do better, but we won't know that. We can't really tell
They
that.
said that they had individual rooms and stuff, which means,
A lot of duct work.
Right.
Yeah.
if we're gonna have more open, do we really need 5 units, or can we get by with 4 units?
Well, and what Jason said to me was, this 90,000 might be just one single unit to replace those 3 units. But, without, really getting a full, I guess, design bid from an HVAC company, which is more than we can do at this point. The 90,000 is replacing, what you see is replacing 3 units. Whether those are replaced with 1 unit or 2 units, I'd be surprised if we really need 3. So that helped a lot with the budget. From the earlier budget that we had, the very first one, Jason had listed the 1.1 price tag. but now we know that that's been negotiated at 1 million. The original budget that Jason had shared with us had an owner contingency of 250,000. We reduced that to 200,000. And I should say we, but Jason basically reduced that in an effort to get the budget a little further down.
What is that? Refresh my memory on that.
Owner contingency is to cover expenses that are unexpected or that changes that we make, that the owner makes as you going through the process.
All right, slush fund.
It's a slush, but it's,
How can you say it nicely?
you know, and in an older building, you know, when they take all the walls off, they don't expect to find asbestos, but you know, you could find something else that's like, oops, we didn't know that because we couldn't see behind the wall at the time we did the bidding. So the other things were reduced, and I say these were not discussed at the building committee in any depth, like furniture. Jason had little money in for phone and computer systems, but he said the electrical work and that sort of stuff for the phones and computers will be included in the building, is already included in the building construction. The phone system is if we needed to buy new phones. I don't know what we got. They're not dial-ups, right?
No.
So we just made the assumption
Yeah.
that we can take the phones. Ring, 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 yeah. Similarly with computer systems. This computer system line is if you need new, I forget what he called them, like racks for servers and stuff. So I think we made some replacements already in the last couple of years. So I think we'll just be taking what we have in existence. And then I asked him to put money in on security system. I know from what Connor told me that the town is changing their security system or their vendor for that. And so basically I haven't spoken to Connor about this specifically. It's just a plug number, but we would want to go with whatever the town is doing. I think looking at a town-wide contract makes sense.
Yeah.
A little on equipment, you know, AV for meeting room, you know, that sort of stuff. And a plug number of 15,000 for moving. We are not going to try to move all the books ourselves. So. Yeah. So that basically brings the total cost for the project to 3.3 million. Jason asked me what I thought the foundation would be contributing, and I hadn't put 350,000 in. They probably got 320 at this point, something like that, with an intent to raise more. And they have, this is cash on hand, whereas they have, I forget how much, but I'm going to say 150,000 maybe in pledges, that when the bonds didn't pass, donors who had made a pledge said they didn't make their third payment. They were going to wait and see until it passed. So the foundation seems reasonably confident that most, if not all of those will come through. So this is kind of conservative, but I thought it was a safe number. And that would bring the amount that we would need from public funds to 2.98. I know it's just under 3, but you know, that's $1 million less than what the library was asking for 3 or 4 years ago.
How was that grant that was submitted?
We did not get the grant. I just got the email 2 days ago that the humanities, National Humanities, notified Roger and me that, sorry, but they had 138 applications. So it was very competitive, and ours was not selected. So disappointing. I have asked them, they offered to share with us the evaluations of their reviewers, so that'll be interesting to see. And as Roger said, in some respects, he wasn't totally surprised because he said the history and the need was very easy to justify. But as far as how concrete our plan was, one that was due last May, we didn't have design, we didn't have, and we certainly have a totally different plan at this point as far as an existing building, so.
Yeah, I think that was based on the building over.
It was based on building over there, although we had no plan at that point. We didn't get plans done, until the summer. So that's disappointing, but
At least we know.
we know.
Right, right.
So, so what questions do you have about this? Do you want to see changes made? We did cut back quite a bit on furniture and such, and my only concern there, actually, Jason had cut it back even further than this, and I said, it's not about folding chairs, it's about stacks. I'm most concerned because we have limited space over there, it's not huge, but it's okay, but we've got to get the right book stack so that things will be safe and accessible. We'll use as much as we can here, but Liz and Amy have both declared that most of our tall stacks, I don't know if they were secondhand, whatever, they look decent because they've got end caps, but they're in not very good shape. So we need to have enough money in there for that.
One question I have is that there is a reduction in art, under soft costs, architecture and AE fees, phase 2. What exactly are those?
Those, that's a good question. I would have to ask Jason to detail that. Clearly, the first phase is, we've got a scenario,
Architecture.
but the real architecture detail of that. And it's apparently the contract, and this goes back to, I think, the prior one as well, is based on a percentage. So, when you see 4.5% and 2%.
Okay, it's based on the cost. Okay.
So that's, exactly physically
No, that is
what the work is that is entailed. I couldn't honestly tell you.
Yeah, I was just wondering the reduction, but when you say that what it's based on, that makes a lot of sense.
Because when the budget was higher, the last budget was like 94,000 or something.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Other questions?
Now, if the public wanted to see this,
Yeah.
the minutes are public.
Yep, that's fine. Yep. Because we'll be sharing, as soon as we finalize our recommendation on this, when I go home, I'm gonna email it to Connor and say, here you go.
So the minutes for the building committee is on the town website.
No, it's
on the
here,
library
it's
website?
here.
Okay.
I don't know if we're posting those minutes, I did just send them to you, but,
Okay.
But they're available anyway for the
Right.
public, but available through the library.
I think Jason's done a great job
Mhm.
in continuing to listen and shave
Yeah.
and.
Well, he really wants us to go through.
I know.
He's ready to sign off on Barrington.
He wants to retire.
And when I was concerned about some of the numbers, like, gee, that, we really cut that back, and he would say, it's included in building construction.
Mhm.
And if we have to, that's why you have contingency.
Yeah.
And if we don't spend all the contingency, we'll have a little bit more money to get stacks. I'm not really worried about the furniture, because that's the kind of thing that I think people like to donate.
Yes.
Like the Roundy law firm, when Vicki Roundy was involved, they gave us all those chairs and tables. And it still looks nice to me. I don't know if we'll need to get things reupholstered, but they're still sturdy and they still look good.
Yeah. I think it's good.
Okay, is there a motion?
Rustic.
Pardon?
Homey and rustic looking.
Homey and rustic. And durable. I go into a lot of libraries and you don't see much of fabric upholstery.
Yeah.
I remember one library, I think it might have been Kingston or some other library, they bought all their furniture from LL Bean because LL Bean in the olden days was, we'll replace
Yes,
anything,
right.
like it's-
Yeah.
and of course that's,
Long gone.
that boat is sailed.
People would buy
So is there a
size
motion?
9 boots at Goodwill for $10 and then turn them into get size 12 boots.
Well, anyway, is there a motion to approve the,
I'll make a
Building
motion to
library.
approve the SMP budget.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The public hearing on the budget is going to be January 8th. I think that's a Tuesday. It's at Town Hall.
Yes.
I'm looking at you.
Will be town hall.
It will be a town hall. I would expect that the library should be prepared to review and discuss the proposed warrant article. Dana, do you have any idea? Because I haven't been through this, so I don't, some of you have been. It's a public hearing, but does the select board ask questions at that point for more detail or
They may.
understanding?
They may, although our next meeting is the 8th. But anyway, yes, we probably will have questions. It'd be good to have a presentation specific on this one. I think we've had enough presentations on the rest of the warrant. Warrant all been pretty well approved. And so we'll be asking for public comment on those, but I think the select board will have some questions about this particular item because this is the biggest, most controversial bill that we're going, or warrant that we're going to have this year. So.
I'm interested in your opinion as do you think, I know for deliberative, it would probably be good to have some PowerPoint slides, not in excruciating detail, but
It might be.
would we need
check.
to do that for January
Probably wouldn't hurt.
8th? Okay.
Probably wouldn't hurt. That's, again, this is one that has the most.
Because
debate about
what
it.
I'm thinking of is not to spend a lot of time on history, but I think it's
No.
important for people to know how we got to this point. When you look at the proposals from years past, the reduction, people saying, it was too expensive, it was too big, we've reduced it and reduced it again. And the information we have about what it costs to build new versus a renovation, that this, yes, it's not nothing, it's not like it's cheap, but it's really, I think, I shouldn't say affordable, but a cost-effective approach to a new library.
I wouldn't spend a lot of time on the history. I think most people who know about this kind of know the history. Here's what was on offer in 5 years ago, and here's what was on offer 2 years ago. Here's what the new building was proposed to be.
And here's what we're bringing forward. Yeah, that's as much. I don't want to belabor it. I don't expect to be able to attend the public hearing in person. So I would like, I don't mind participating electronically. I'm having foot surgery and it's on my right foot and Friday. And I'm not going to be, I don't think I'm going to be mobile enough to comfortably. People are, I've had many volunteers that are willing to pick me up and take me.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's only 2 weeks after I've had the surgery. So I'm kind of thinking we should not count on me to be there in person, but I'm happy to make the presentation because I know I'm the person that's been involved with the building committee and all this detail. So I wouldn't want to make any of you uncomfortable trying to answer questions that you don't have the information ready at hand. But it would be useful, I think, maybe to have a trustee, and I don't know, Liz, whether you from the building committee or somebody else from the building committee to be present also. Do you have any thoughts?
I would certainly encourage you to be there. I know, I understand. And you have to do what you have to do. I mean, your foot's your foot. But, the budget committee and the select board have come to know you and I know where you're coming from and what we can expect from you. I would certainly encourage you to be there. Liz is there, that's useful too, because Liz brings in some other things. Anyone else here would be certainly welcome. And
At least
No
be in
one's-
the audience. It's a
Yeah.
cheering
Yeah.
section.
Yeah.
No one's gonna deny anyone here to speak on it. I just think you have
Yeah.
the knowledge. You also kind of know the room.
Well, I know, and I personally feel it's really, as you know, I go to a lot of those select board meetings, and it's me and Rick Walker in the back of the room.
So, and you know who the actors are.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I will try. I'm supposed to only be uncomfortable for like, the first week or something, 4 or 5 days. So I should be feeling okay. It's just gonna be a little cumbersome.
I thought you were worried about driving. I was just gonna say, you
Oh,
just
somebody
push-
else is gonna have to drive
I
it.
thought You just push down the accelerator with the cane.
Well, Lydia said she'd drive.
I pick you up.
yeah.
I'm certified in wheelchairs.
Oh, there you go.
Do you have a wheelchair?
I could.
Oh, I have two. I have some
these
wheelchairs.
scooters
Yeah.
that someone has loaned me, but
Oh, those are great.
I've been trying to get used to it around the house. Okay,
It would
well,
be
I'll
nice.
probably
It would be nice.
come. I'll get some
I
maybe
took my
sympathy.
knee
but-
scooter. I had to be off my foot for 8 weeks and
Mm.
I took it downtown Portsmouth. That's how easy they are to use.
Mhm.
Well, when they say absolutely no wait,
Yes.
that's,
Right.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I thought I would say, no, I can't be here.
And what time is it?
The-
6:30.
6:30?
6:30.
Okay.
And we,
Usual meeting.
will the hearing be in the order of the warrant article? So ours would be early?
Probably.
Okay, well, that's a break.
Yeah. Positive maybe, unequivocal maybe.
Unequivocal maybe. Okay. Okay, well, I'll be there, but I do expect moral support in the audience from you all.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Guarantee to be somewhere between first and last.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, and then we talked a little bit about public education. And I think what I may suggest to Roger Gingrich at the foundation, because they've been working on communication. I think I'm going to suggest to Roger that he and I and maybe another trustee and, another foundation person just get together to talk through how we coordinate this. They're working on talking points. They usually run that stuff by me and I wordsmith things or whatever. So, and then we'll go from there. They do have one of their members who joined Barrington Connections, not her personally, but as the foundation, in order to be able to do very simple responses if it looks like some misinformation is coming out, to just respond, not to get into, a lengthy discussion, but just to say, here's, a link to either the foundation webpage, which will have Q&A on it, or the town webpage. I know they're talking to Connors.
Could I mention, I'm not part of this group, but could I mention kind of the strategies that we're thinking about? One, the voter's guide is going to describe in some detail. So short, you know how we do this, a fairly short blip that explains exactly what's involved. We're going to have each of us going to give a real description of the particular warrant article. The titles are kind of confusing. Sometimes they're not very informative, at least, and explain that. We're going to have a table set up on the 23rd of January, which is the presidential primary at BMS. And I would certainly suggest the library do the same, have someone to man or person that table to explain anytime people have questions.
There's some handouts maybe too.
Handout or trifold or anything, again,
And we're
not
working,
from the trustees, but from the friends or the
well, the
foundation.
foundation, has a sort of a library update. And they'll have
Right.
another, they did another one, they'll do another one. And I think what we've talked about is having a table at the middle school that will be the library foundation, but it needs to have a trustee at that table the whole time as well. And what I would do is, some of you are working, so you're not going to be available. Some of you may be working at the polls, so you're not going to be available. But between the rest of us, we really need to at least have 2-hour stints to make sure there's a trustee there all the time. The foundation's doing a great job, but I really think the trustees have to be there to be able to answer questions, whether it's about budget or whatever, because we're the ones that are ultimately responsible for that. So I'm not going to ask you to sign up now, but the foundation will be meeting January 2nd. And so at that point, we'll need to get our plan together for the 23rd.
At the budget hearing, if you can actually lower the cost of these things, but not increase it. But at the deliberative session, if you look, you can raise or lower the warrants that will appear on the ballot on the 12th of March.
That happened a number of years ago, back in the recession, 2009 or 10, whatever, that people were concerned, and we got a regular one article for $5,000 for the technology.
Yes.
And they were talking about that, and Wendy said, and he said, I'm not sure it'll last that long because the support's already gone out, but we're trying to budget ahead. And somebody raised it to 15,000 to pay for the whole thing. We were scared because the economy, every other warrant article, including the budget, got turned down.
That was like
And that passed by
2008
one
or
vote.
2009.
One
Wow.
vote.
And of course, we all claim to be the one vote.
Yep. That's me.
You were?
Yeah, yeah, we're all one.
Absentee from.
Yes.
It's just, I'm not tracking straightforward here, but you did mention something about wanting a small group like the foundation and trustees to do communications. Is this under the communications plan, or what was that all about?
Well, the foundation has, you're right, I'm sort of moving into that foundation topic. They are working on a communications plan, which included having somebody on, Facebook identified, and FAQs that we would work on. I just want us to have a real coordinated voice, to be all on the same page. Everybody shared the same information. And look at what roles we would have and what roles they would have. Cindy Hoisington on their board has been coming to the library and, sitting at a little table by the front door with materials to be able to just, talk to people, and she's been willing to do that. The one disappointing experience we've been having is we simply have not been able to engage the rec in being very,
Cooperative.
No, it's not that they're not cooperative, but I mean, as far as a joint communication and promotion, because they have a separate warrant article, sizable article, as well as $300,000 in our warrant article that's not reflected in that 2.9, that would be used if their article did not pass, or if they did not get that grant. This space could only be made usable if there's an investment of money to,
I think it's $300,000.
300,000 is what,
Kind of a minimum.
which was a minimum, I think, to put a stairway in between this floor and below, put in new carpeting. This carpeting is terrible. Probably a fresh coat of paint, maybe,
Office.
maybe some, I'm not sure, but minimal.
They'd be using this for their admin offices and
Admin and programming, where the stacks are would be programming. So I don't want to get into the weeds on that, but I had hoped that rec would be doing what we're doing, is talking with their commission. How can we let the public know about what difference this would make in rec programming and the utilization of this existing building? And the foundation hasn't had much luck. Jessie, I think, has been very nice, and I think she's willing to do some poster or something. But as far as, I thought, let's have a joint information session later in February. And I don't know. I don't hear much. I looked at they had a board commission meeting yesterday, and I looked at the agenda, and I didn't even see on the agenda talking about.
Has anybody talked to them about meeting?
The foundation has, and several people have met with them.
I think so, because
It's just
we
that
get the library,
they've
they get
never
this, and
been
it works out.
very active in advocating for themselves about this sort of thing, as far as I can see. So I had hoped that would be a bigger push because they really stand to benefit substantially. And particularly with money in this for them.
They have a tripart program which involves a pretty good sized grant. Partly it's an energy grant, and some other grant monies out there. And they have 3 different plans. It's very complex.
Mhm.
If you hear it, it's really pretty simple. What we'll do if we don't get that grant, and we get the 300,000 here, or if they get the grant and don't get the 300,000 here, or
You know, if they get it all, whatever.
Get it all in some of it.
And the public has got to understand that.
It's gonna be very
So that's up to them.
I was shocked because the rec posted on Barrington Connections their adult
Yeah.
schedule for classes. Well, Michael House made a comment about the library has no business having a yoga class, presenting a yoga class. And so I just made a statement. Yeah. And I just simply replied to him saying that the library, you pay for the classes at the rec, and the classes at the library are free. And the people who are probably taking the classes at the library, the hours at the rec may not, be.
Well, and it's not like we're setting up a huge yoga
No. And
studio or anything.
And so I said, and besides, some of these people are older and they may not be able to afford the classes at the rec. So this gives them an opportunity for community and
Well,
experience.
and share yoga is a very, very common offering in many, many,
It
many
is,
libraries.
it is. But
And
I couldn't
it's about
believe
community, it's about bringing people
Yeah,
together. It's
and
not
that's what
so
I
much
said.
about the physical, I think.
it provides community.
In somebody's point of view, though, if you don't understand it's mostly seniors and share yoga, if you think yoga is a rec program,
Why
why
we
is it
do
a
it.
library instead of the rec program? I can see why a lot of people might question that. But
Well,
But his
I think
response
that
was
part of the problem, and
angry.
if
it's more difficult.
the rec is making money off yoga, having a free competitor
Right,
does not look good.
right.
And if I were them, I'd be concerned that you,
It's just
but
like-
it's not competing, it's not
No,
the same
it isn't.
audience.
No.
But,
It's not even the same kind of yoga.
No.
This is
No.
shared
No.
yoga, they
And,
do it.
and I said, well, if he was that upset about it, why didn't you call the library and ask about it? He had no information
yeah, I know. It's
beyond
not
that comment.
Well, welcome to the discussions.
Yes, I know, I know.
So
But I wasn't
anyway,
gonna let that one
um,
lie because.
I wanted just to, on the foundation update, as you know, they did the Giving Tuesday, and I don't know who, but they had an anonymous donor who offered to match up to 5,000. And when I talked to Roger, this was last week, I asked him how that was going or what the amount. And he said the total amount, I think, including the match, is going to come up to around $6,000,
Hey.
between 6,000 and 7,000. So that's, they were still getting some lingering checks in at that point. So I'm at their meeting in January. I'm sure the finance report will clarify what that is. But that was, that was useful. And they had been waiting. Roger had wanted to wait until the purchase and sale agreement was signed before they went back out and asked prior donors and new people to donate to the project. I've tried to say, they've taken it off the market. It's the agreement, to my knowledge, is still not signed yet. Rob Gibson told us there were 2 hangups. One is, do you want the deposit or do you want the tax abatement as the earnest money? And there are 2 divisions in HCA were disagreeing on that. So it's a non-issue. It's just what ultimately happens. The other is, you remember there's an X-ray room in the building? And while there's no question about who's going to remove the medical equipment, there was a question about the lead-lined room and who's going to dismantle the lead in the lead-lined room. And I didn't even know that was being negotiated, but it makes sense to me.
I thought there was some state rule or some rule.
About equipment, medical equipment. They
had to take everything.
Well, that's the question is the lead line room equipment, is the lead equipment or not?
So that's what's being negotiated between the 2 parties as part of the purchase and sale agreement. And
What is the danger or liability of keeping it?
well, we wouldn't want to keep the lead
No.
lined room because we need it to be other purposes. We would,
Okay.
so I'm sure it's more expensive to dismantle a lead lined room than to just,
The
you know,
Historical
wallboard.
Society, artifacts and.
I thought it would be a good, timeout room for Library trustees.
RFID. On there. Don't have, you can take your tin hat off.
What, the room? The lead,
Old X-ray.
the X-ray room
Oh, the
is there,
X-ray
is in a lead lined room.
Oh,
You know, like those little jackets they put on you?
Lead line.
Yeah, lead.
Yes.
So
I was
anyway,
hearing
so that's what
LED,
Rob
like-
said is
Like-
currently being negotiated between the lawyers, I guess. That's up to the town to handle that. That is not an issue that we are dealing with, but it's what has delayed the actual signature on the paperwork.
Well,
So
maybe
I'm planning to encourage Roger and the foundation to just move ahead with their fundraising plan. The worst that can happen is that you have to turn around and give people their money back.
Well, I don't think they're gonna renovate the building anyway, it'd be a little bit more expensive.
We're not gonna go down
No.
that route. It doesn't matter to us. It's not in our responsibility.
To leave the lead. It's not like that's.
Yeah, it's not dangerous in that way, but so anyway, it probably is more expensive to remove it and take it apart than just regular construction. Let's see, old business, elections 2024. We're gonna have 4 seats open for election. One of them will be a 1-year seat. Lydia said that she's gonna run for her seat. Melanie agreed that she would run for a full seat. I saw Ezra yesterday and he said he would be happy to run. I did ask him to, if he had some friends and other folks to sort of talk up as far as the library alternate or regular, not those on the ground. You would, get them that side of the room there. So he's actually going to speak to a few people he knows as well. I don't know if any of you have had any luck, but, we need someone who would run at least for a 1-year slot while Melanie is filling out leads. When she signs up to run for a slot, I'm hoping you will sign up to run for a 3-year slot.
Yes.
what? For which slot?
A 3-year.
A 3-year.
Two.
There will be 3 3-year slots, which would be Ezra, Lydia, and Melanie, and 1-year slot, which is going to be by a player to be named later. But I just wanted you, if you know people who are interested in the library, yes. Oh, he's looking for cookies. So, and of course, we still need trustee alternates. So please, really think about it. And
So you need a 4th person.
we need a 4th person. We
And-
might be able to prevail on Susan to run for a 1-year extension, but she would rather not. So,
And when is
and
the
it would not be
day?
a good thing to have have a write-in campaign.
No.
Has there been anything tell about any other potential, like last year?
Oh. I don't know, Robert, do you know if there's, last year, the Republican Party, you haven't heard anything? Yeah,
When do we actually have to go to get our name on the ballot? When's that?
it's usually sometime the end of January.
Yeah, there's a 2-week.
Right.
It might be on the town clerk's
I don't
website at this
remember
point,
off the top of my head.
but yeah, I'd look on the town clerk's
Mhm.
website. And usually she puts it out, like she'll probably send Liz an email to let the board know, when that period is upon us. So Friends report, Lydia.
Yes. So the raffle was very successful. The friends made $374 for $374.
That's great.
Yes. And also coming up soon will be Just Desserts coming
Back
back.
by popular demand.
Yes. So that's very
So how much do
exciting.
you like those chocolate cookies?
I know.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the 10th of February.
February 10th,
Yes.
4 to 6 p.m. Alex put out the call for potential bakers in the latest newsletter. I had one person already email telling me they wanted to bake.
Great.
And-
One.
And,
Do we have professionals or
no, this is amateurs.
Yeah,
This is
amateur.
local people.
what, the,
No, we,
this is to raise money, right?
yes,
This is, this is,
So can I
Frank.
get someone to donate cookies? to
No,
be
no.
sold?
no.
So, okay.
You could bake cookies or have someone bake them and bring them in.
You really
No.
don't want me to make.
Okay.
Or you
The-
could stand there.
Or something else. Doesn't have to be
contestants
cookies.
Must be Barrington residents.
Mhm.
Could be an adult or a parent and child.
Expect to be judged, I just thought that they buy them.
No, the judges are everybody who pays $5 to come and eat.
Right.
All these
Okay,
sweets.
because I know somebody who can donate some crumble cookies. Okay.
No,
I said, boy, I'll just ask myself.
and
Make 100.
Wendy sent out a notice to the members of the Spice Club, in
Mhm.
case any of them would like to bake, because we've had some pretty good bakers there. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I hope you're
Lydia, anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think that's the upcoming event is just desserts.
Yep.
Yes.
I forgot to mention this, and I haven't spoken to Connor about it, but when I said it, we thought it would be good to have a general, not a public hearing, but just an information session for people to ask questions and look at the plans more closely and that sort of thing. And it was suggested, could we have that at the building, at the new building? And I don't know whether legally, whether we'd be able to do that, but the comment was people love to look at buildings and a lot of people have
They
never
do.
been in it. And that might generate some enthusiasm, but I would have to ask Connor because we only have an agreement to buy it. So I don't know whether they would.
Well, I
have a
would
problem
think that would, the
access.
more people we get involved and interested in it, the more people are gonna vote for it, so the more chance
Well,
they're
that's,
gonna buy it.
that's why it was a
Great
good
idea.
idea, but as I said, legally, I don't, we would have to get permission.
I think
The
he was gonna look into
insurance.
Yeah.
He was?
Yeah.
I'll check with him.
You have to have insurance to cover
Yeah.
a public event, so.
I think that
That
would.
might
A 1 day, or because it's not a property.
That's right, if it's a town event.
But, a 1 day event, insurance, we know costs $105.
That's what it used to
something like that,
cost,
so
yeah.
It's not a big expense. The foundation, I'm sure would cover it.
That's what we used to pay for the, when we had it down in the gym, the perennial
For the
sale.
plant sale down in
Yeah,
the gym.
when we got insurance, it was $105.
And we got somebody to pay for it for us.
Yes.
So, and we can go back to that well if we want to. So is that it, Lydia, from the Friends
Yes.
for now? Okay. I just wanted to remind you that the January trustee meeting is January 16th, which is pretty early. I was thinking it was going to be the 23rd, and I was thinking, how are we going to do that? But just so you mark your calendars. We do have a very short item that we need to discuss in non-public. I'm looking at our secretary. Did you hear me?
Yes, I did, and I've got the form.
Wow.
So with this,
Okay.
with non-public, it's going to go to leave. Okay.
So we're gonna take a vote to go into non-public for reputation
Okay. So I'm
That's the-
leaving.
purpose of it, whatever number that is.
So who's